Hello, and welcome back to Suzerain with the King of Rizia and King Ramus Taurus. In today's episode, we're starting with our meeting with Queen Livingston. The trump of airplane wheels on asphalt jolted me from my sleep. I was seated in the commercial jet we'd chartered for our royal visit to Thornburg. It had been a long, bumpy ride. Lucita was in a seat next to mine. On seeing I was awake, she squeezed my hand. Good morning, Your Majesty. I'm glad you were able to get some rest. I always sleep well on airplanes. No phone calls, no letters, no responsibilities except to get from point A to point B. And plan for what will happen once we land. She adjusted the pins over her breast pocket. I hope the Queen's in a good mood. Rumberg's support could really turn the tide against Pales. This visit is just courtesy. We're perfectly capable of defeating Pales on our own. As long as the ATO doesn't get involved. That is true. At the moment, this war is actually going extremely well. We just need the ATO to not get involved for like one more attack phase, and we're like doing good right now. The plane's door slid open. An aide informed us that everything had been cleared for our arrival. Thornburg Airport, one of the biggest transportation hubs in Recopa, had been completely emptied of passengers for our visit. As we descended the airplane stairs onto the tarmac, a horn quartet played a jubilant fanfare. Photographs and cordoned-off press area and eagerly began snapping pictures. A red carpet stretched from the plane to a waiting motorcade. Next to a pair of limousines, Beatrice Livingston and Rumberg royal family waited to greet us. The Queen's eyes brimmed with sympathy as I approached. She pulled me into an embrace. My dear, dear brother-in-law, you've got yourself into quite a mess, haven't you? Nonsense. Everything the Pale is perfectly under control. I was not only speaking about Pales. She abruptly turned and regarded Lucita, who was standing beside me. Just as Zora, your reputation precedes you. Lucita performed a graceful curtsy. A pleasure to finally meet you, Your Excellency. I hope you've only heard good things. Her eyes traveled from Lucita to myself and back. She smiled insincerely. Why, yes, of course. Let's not delay. We have a full program of events planned at the Emerald Palace. She cursedly introduced Lucita to King Consort Boris and Prince Bradley. I exchanged greetings with the two men. A chauffeur opened their limousine door and they stepped in. Queen Beatrice and Lucita and I were escorted over to the second car. I hope you don't mind the company. We have so much to catch up on. I thought we should get started right away. Good thinking. You never know who's listening in at the palace. I assure you our security is second to none, but of course one can never be too careful. We got into the car and sat facing each other on leather banquet. I can't talk. The engine thrummed to life, and we began moving. Let's not beat around the bush. You have come here to ask for help in the war against Pales. You are correct, Your Excellency. Will Rumberg come to our aid? Naturally, I would love to see your hand into the surrender of that self-styled Korean heart. The capture of the Aurelius gas field would, of course, be a lovely bonus. It would, wouldn't it? But let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Agreed. We have to win the war first. Lucita smoothly cut in. Our troops in Pales are thoroughly concentrating on winning the war without harming the integrity of the gas field. Any support you can offer will surely increase their chances of success. I should say so. I need to remind you of the superiority of Rumberg's military technology. Lucita forced a smile. I cannot argue with that, Your Excellency. Our homegrown military industry is in infancy compared to yours. Beatrice nodded proudly. We have prepared a sizable shipment of our finest equipment. K-74s, grenades, body armors, all will be at your disposal. I have a few more specialized requests. I thought you might. Here's the rub, though. I simply cannot abide by the terms of agreement you made with Wellen. Rumburg has been working hard to assist the Bloodish Freedom Front in their struggle for liberation. It does us no good for you to be aiding in their oppression. Furthermore, Rizia's continued ties to Swordland irk me to no end. I cannot break my agreement with Victor Smolik. The fate of Zeal hangs in the balance. Then you must decide, Zeal or Pales. Do you understand what I want from your Majesty? My dealings with other foreign leaders are not any of Rumburg's business. I won't renege on any of my agreements, even in exchange for more military assistance. Very well. I do have one other unconventional suggestion. You could sell us your port of Munquiz. I have some concerns about that proposal, to put it mildly. As you should, your Majesty, we can ill afford to lose another part of Rizia. You wouldn't be losing Monquiz, you'd be sharing it. Look at how shabby the port has become. With our technology, we can get it into tip-top shape in an instant. Giving Rumburg a say in how shipping is run would only be illogical should you begin sending us gas from the Aurelius field. If we did this for you, we'd never owe you anything again. No need for hyperbole, but it would be quite the grand gesture. We do not need you to resort to desperate measures to win the war, your Majesty. We should not relinquish control of a critical asset for the sake of some extra artillery. We will not sell Monquiz, nor make any other concessions. We will win with the equipment we have. Beatrice sighed. Very well, may Das be with you and your troops. Now, is there anything else on your mind? If I told you I had moved on from Lena, would it bother you? Lucita shifted in her seat nervously. The Queen's eyes darted between the two of us again. Finally, Beatrice laughed lightly. It's been over 10 years, my dear. I would be concerned if you hadn't moved on. Fret not. As long as my niece is still heir apparent to the Rizian throne, you will always be my family in my eyes. We turned off the freeway. The massive green domes of the Emerald Palace loomed in the distance. Well, I plan on keeping her my heir. I promised her that, so don't worry about it. We finished the journey in comfortable silence. There is still a long visit ahead of us. Alright, they still gave us equipment. They just didn't give us all the other stuff that were going to give us. So, you know, they gave us stuff without us having to give them anything, so I'll take it. Rizia and Rumburg reaffirm alliance. Following successful negotiations between Queen Beatrice and King Ramus, both partners have, as expected, agreed on strengthening cooperation between both of our kingdoms. Historically, our nations have been tied together, even including a blood tie between late Queen Lena and our very own Ramus. We at the Royal Herald are looking forward to an era of increased cooperation. Finest Rumburgian guns to protect Rizia. Our compatriot brethren of Rumburg, led by the great Queen Beatrice, sister-in-law of our own Ramus Taurus, have offered to provide military aid to the Rizian army in their struggle against Pales. Thousands of guns, including the fabled KA-74, are due to arrive in the hands of Rizia's loyal soldiers soon. Aside from guns, a variety of military supplies in the form of boots, helmets, and grenades are also part of the aid package, as well as munitions for Rizian artillery. These will surely help to secure the safety and interests of our great nation. Rumburg arms Rizia. King of Rumburg has announced a military aid package to the Rizian counterpart, which is currently engaged in the invasion of Pales. Thousands of guns, artillery shells, and protective gear are expected to be delivered to Rizia in the coming days, with many of these arms likely going straight to the front. This military aid package re-solidifies the relationship between both monarchies, with both appearing committed to a swift Rizian victory in Pales. Requested meeting with Hugo. Now this is the one I'm even more nervous about, a lot more nervous about. After receiving the news that I had deposed his son, Uncle Hugo was on his way to talk to me. Thoughts were running through my mind as I paced back and forth in my chambers. If he were to openly go against me, I'd have a big problem with my entire house. I thought about each scenario in my head and tried to devise a plan. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. I granted Hugo permission to enter, and he walked in. He seemed more sad than angry, something that took me off guard. Your Majesty. He bowed in front of me, lower and longer than he'd normally go for. You can rise, Uncle. There's no need for that. Ramus, my king, may I speak freely? Please. It's about my son. Hugo leaned forward slightly, his hands clasped together, and choosing his words carefully. About your decision to remove him as the Duke of Rizia. Understand that he was not popular in the city yet. It was a decision not made lightly, Uncle. The entire populace was demanding his removal. Hugo's expression remained unchanged, but there was a flicker of sadness in his eyes. I understand the weight of the crown and the decisions it demands, but he is my son, Ramus, and I was not consulted. His demeanor made me feel uncomfortable. I couldn't meet his gaze. I had to look away. I value your counsel, Hugo, more than you know, but some decision must be made swiftly to protect the realm. Indeed, and I wouldn't question your judgment. I've served this family and this kingdom all my life, Ramus. My loyalty has never wavered. But as a father yourself, you must understand. I do not doubt your loyalty, nor do I take your sacrifices for granted. Your son's removal was not a punishment, but a necessity. For him, for you, for all of us. I do not question your motives, Ramus, but nonetheless, I believe I was owed a consultation. The loss of this position has repercussions, for his future and for the name of our family. Some form of compensation could ease this transition. What amends do you seek? Tell me. I'm just asking for something in return, a role, an estate, something to maintain the dignity of my son and provide a path forward for him. Understand you cannot offer him a title right after revoking it, but please consider offering him a job in the capital. How about he works for your security counselor, as the chief of security? So he can escalate tensions right at my doorstep as well? No, I'm sorry. Hugo took a deep breath, his posture relaxing ever so slightly. There was an underlying current of disappointment in his voice. Then I shall stand by your decision, as I have always stood by you, and your father before you. My loyalty to the crown and to you remains unshaken. You are my monarch, and my family. He extends his hand to me. All shall be well, Uncle. Very well. I shall return to my duties now. As Hugo exited, I was left to ponder the intricate balance of ruling, where the lines between kinship and kingship blurred. I stood up and prepared for my next meeting. Well, honestly, I say that went better than expected. Freedom press in conflict zones. Entry of independent journalists. Independent journalists from around the globe are seeking permission to enter the war-torn areas of Pales to shed light on the realities of war and provide unbiased narratives. We are actually going to grant full access to journalists. It's a risky move, but I'm going to do it. Army has nothing to hide. To prove that there's nothing to hide and broadcast his righteous cause, the Rizian army, known as the most moral army in the world, has decided to generously allow independent journalists to access the war zones. This will ensure fair and balanced coverage of our war effort. Now people across Mercopa will be able to see that this war is an act of self-defense, unlike Peloponnesian propaganda claims. Hopefully. Wartime economy. Stabilization of wartime economy. The invasion of Pales has triggered a wave of uncertainty across our country, leading to panic buying on an unprecedented scale. Our country's industrial might has pivoted almost entirely towards the war effort, further reducing the availability of everyday items. The shifts have affected prices, assisting the pockets of average Rizians significantly affecting their everyday lives. Focus on the military effort. And now we have bad living standards, but what you gonna do? The living standards for the average Rizian have declined sharply, with many struggling to access even basic amenities. The stark contrast between university opulence highlights a growing divide, with education and healthcare becoming privileges rather than widespread rights. Hey, we'll fix things in time. We just have to work on what we're doing now first. Palace ensures living standards will be maintained. The Palace acknowledges the cost of living crisis as the results of the Pale's war and is assured it's doing everything in its power to lessen the burden on ordinary Rizians. It also highlights that while the coming months might be tough, living standards are expected to rise dramatically once we win the war. This year's gas field will bring untold risks to all of Rizian citizens. Hang in tight. Countering Peloponnesian propaganda. I might. Okay, yeah. In an audacious move, enemy forces have launched a psychological warfare campaign, distributing propaganda leaflets across our country and the occupied territory. These leaflets criticize the war toll, question leadership motives, and urge soldiers to desert, with the aims of undermining morale and provoking unrest. We are going to ignore it. We're gonna let information spread. We're not gonna try to hold things tightly by a rope and propaganda-wise. I believe our actions and how quickly we are winning this war will speak for itself. Golden candlesticks stood along the length of the table in the royal dining room. Their flickering light cast a warm glow on my daughter's face, matching the warmth in her eyes. My mother hurried into the room, holding the train of her silk brocade gown. Pebble calmly pulled out her chair. Truly sorry, dears. It took 2 ladies-in-waiting to squeeze me into this old thing. But I wouldn't miss supper for the world. It's been ages since the 3 of us sat around the same table. Even amongst the myriad demands of war, a king must make time for his family. The same goes for princesses. Pardon my interruptions, but dinner is served. Pabal rang a small bell. Ding, 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 ding. An army of kitchen staff materialized around the table, bearing plates of food. He fastidiously wiped the dust off an ancient-looking wine bottle, before pouring glasses for Vina and my mother, then me. A rare Cote Grand Cru, bottled in 1926, days prior to the uprising. A reminder of triumph over our sedacious internal elements. Well chosen. Thank you, Your Majesty. Pabel bowed and disappeared back into the kitchen. I looked down at my plate. Dinner tonight was mudkiz lobster with rice and plenty of butter. Your father couldn't stand lobster as a child, Vina. I could only get him to eat it by telling him it was a magical creature called a sea pheasant. An example of how we all believe what we want to, no matter how implausible. My mother nodded in agreement. Vina didn't respond. What's on your mind, Vina? You know you can tell me anything. Nothing, or well, I had a long conversation with Manus the other day. She slowly put down her fork. The topic of marriage came up. Is that so? How lovely. She breathed a sigh of relief. Lovely indeed. So does that mean we can go through with it? Yeah, we're gonna do it. I don't like it. I hate it. In fact, I hate this. I hate it. But let's do it. I couldn't be happier with your decision. Lie. Let us begin the planning wedding at once. Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Father. My mother smiled broadly. A Rizian princess marrying her true love. Your grandfather would be proud. Venus should be able to marry the person she loves. Everyone in Rizia deserves that. Everyone? She briefly glanced the direction of the kitchen. Realization sparked in her eyes. I hope you aren't expecting me to make nice with your new mother-in-law. Manus's mother has been given a full pardon. Your grievances are with a dead man. Vina nodded vigorously. What happened to Father was ghastly, but she had no part in it. She scooped the last bit of rice off her plate. Manus and I have already started looking for a suitable residence in the capital. We both have duties here, after all. In fact, he was hoping to take on an expanded role on the Royal Council. That's favoritism, love. My counselors all earned their position by merit. Oh, Father, you know that's not true. My mother gave her a wry smile. We'll see how much time you have for the council once the babies start coming, sweetheart. How unfair. Would you say that to a man? Don't worry about it, Vina. Your nannies and housekeepers will do most of the work anyways. That isn't what I meant, but children are years in the future anyways. Your great-grandmother changed many rules for women in Rizia. The expectations for wives and mothers are not among them. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, Pebble. Some champagne? We have an engagement to celebrate. Right away, madame. He escorted into the kitchen and returned with a bottle. Allow me to saber it. There must be a sword around this room somewhere. I've taken the liberty of opening it already, your majesty. He filled our glasses, and Vina hoisted hers high. To houses Taurus and Suzerain. Wait, I still have your mother's ring. I want you to wear it at the wedding. Oh, father, it would be an honor. We clinked our glasses. Over dessert, we began discussing the wedding preparations. Rufus Gregg, royal gossip. Vina engaged? What's that I hear? Why, it's wedding bells for the Belle of Rizia, Her Highness Vina Torres. The latest out of Palace Resina is that Princess Vina has finally gotten engaged to a longtime sweetheart, and House Delegate's renegade, Manus Suzanne. And it's about time, too. The young lady's getting perilously close to the 25th birthday. The engagement is a historic step forward for Houses Torres and Suzanne, who haven't properly reconciled since the War of Succession. No comment from the Azaros, aka the jilted third party in the equation. We'll keep you posted on preparation for the big royal wedding, which is sure to be one for the books. Oh, don't worry about the Azaros. They're getting their fill in in this. Isn't that right, House Cesaro? You're not marrying into the air, but I have a feeling there's another marriage that might happen, so I don't think they're that worried about it. We're kind of uniting all of it. We're God or them, I mean them, like, we're kind of uniting the realm a bit at least in the nobility side. The only place I'm not really uniting is my own group, which is seeming to hate me more and more, but everyone else I'm getting along with. I get along with everyone except my own group, so that's good. Ensuring continuity of the Taurus royal line, deciding the lineage of Princess Vina's heirs. The future of Taurus royal lineage is a crossroads with the crown prince's forthcoming marriage. Tradition dictates that she and any children she may bear take her husband's surname, effectively removing House Taurus from the royal line of succession. However, the King of Rizia may issue an exception, allowing the Taurus name to be passed down matrilineally. The Suzans can't take over. I'll make an exception for Vina. Rufus Gragg's royal gossip, Taurus lineage secured. The king broke tradition, but it is for a necessary cause. With the upcoming marriage, Vina's children will carry the Taurus name instead of the husband's one, thus the lineage is secured. One can't help but wonder, does this mean that King Ramus plans to no longer have a son? What would happen if something bad happened to Vina, the king's only child? We can only pray together that eventually, that eventuality never occur. Well, I do plan on having children potentially in the future. Potentially. But she will still be the heir as the oldest, no matter what happens. So, I'm breaking tradition once again there. Chapter 30. We continue. Vindicem wins civil war in stalemate. The civil war in Vindicem evolved into a prolonged stalemate where neither side could clinch a decisive victory. Cuthamur remained under monarchist control, while Suzerain continued its resilient stand, despite the ebb and flow of Rizian support. The drawn-out battles for Vragkara and Pinguvi became symbols of the enduring impasse, with each side gaining and losing ground in seemingly endless cycle. In Terramin, this deadlock played out fiercely, with constant skirmishes and strategic maneuvers yielding little change in control. Hey, Chapter 2, I'm finished. Complete Chapter 2. The nation, divided and war-weary, yearned for a resolution, but as age turned to months and months into years, the conflict became part of daily life, with no clear end in sight. We are going to organize a relief effort for war-affected citizens. Because we are making a lot more budget than authority now. Intensified support to overcome stalemate in Vindesam. Grace is escalating support for the monarchist forces in the Vindesam civil war. In a bid to break the ongoing stalemate, we are deploying additional resources providing enhanced strategic assistance. Our alliance is determined to achieve a decisive victory for the monarchist cause, reflecting our steadfast commitment to monarchist principles and our resolve to influence the outcome of this critical conflict. Vindesam civil war grinds to a halt, no end in sight. With neither the revolutionaries nor the prince consort able to gain the upper hand despite years of fighting, the Vindesam civil war has entered a bloody stalemate, with brutal trench warfare wearing down both sides. While several countries have urged the Vindesam monarchy to negotiate and bring about a lasting peace deal, it would seem Cabinet Sang Tam is not willing to listen to any country aside from his traditional Grace allies, who have remained quiet on the matter. Meanwhile, the besieged monarchy has criticized some of its long-standing allies, especially calling out Rizia, saying a lack of military support is preventing it from achieving his final victory. I sent you, I have been the most supportive of you, okay? You can't, I mean, this is on you. Aid shipment leaves for Vindesam. Tens of thousands of tons of humanitarian aid left to the Monka's harbor on its way to Vindesam, where it is to help alleviate the suffering of citizens struck in the civil war that seemingly has no end. Invest in new industries. Choose a new industry for major investment. With the industry on the cusp of a significant breakthrough, we stand at a pivotal moment to invest in a new high-potential sector. The initiative aims to kickstart a massive industry and create countless jobs, leveraging the groundwork already laid. Any new expansion of a sector presents unique opportunities for economic growth and technological advancements. We are going to do high-tech military work. Though we actually already are, like, out of money for this term. That we could just, yeah, we could do a second one, but that would cost, oh wait, no, that's large. Yeah, we could get a little bit of extra budget, though honestly, that amount for the, like, that amount of loss for it, it's honestly, Chronix announces expansion of high-tech weapons industry. Major expansion of Rizia's weapons industry, heralded as the economic future of the nation, is underway. The Treasury already allocated significant funds to achieve this expansion, ranging from tax credits to major businesses, as well as direct investment by the Rizian state. The newly constructed military factories in Fulsvatar will play a key role in these innovations. The plans are expected to create countless jobs, as well as diversify our economy away from gold and gas. The Leicester country will be able to produce high-tech arms at home, including missiles and autonomous weaponry. Yes. But I think this is a good time to go ahead and end this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And as always, peace.